Welcome guys to my video tutorials, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to use different tools of ARCHICAD and different creative tools. That's what I usually call them. I call them creative tools because they help you to expand on your creativity with the software. So today I'm going to teach you how to use the complex profile, and we're going to use it in different and various uses on our building. And some of the uses I know I've put them out in the notes, the short notes of my course, and those notes are very important for us so that we can be able to know how we can use the complex profiles. For my complex profiles, I can use it for different ways and different activities. So we're going to use the complex profile in doing these certain activities that I'm going to read them out for you. We're going to make the foundation using the complex profile. We're going to make the window sills. We're going to make the facade, any facade treatment that we need on our building, and any cladding on our building. Those are some of the things we're going to use for complex profiles for. So for the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to draw the foundation of our building. So for this building I want us to use the strip foundation because that's what we're going to mostly use for these types of buildings, and that's how the type of foundation that can be drawn using the complex profile. So we're just going to the foundation first so that we can just be present in it in the floor plan stage. So with that said, now we can go to let me first trace it. You can see, let me choose the reference in the above current story. So with that said, now I can go to options, element attributes, and then profile manager. This is where the complex profiles is. So profile manager, and then I'm going to click this small arrow, this small addition here that is blue, and then I'm going to click to the addition, and then I'm going to write a new one, and then I'm going to name it foundation. Let me first of all, before we continue, let me make sure it is concrete, so that I can just use the concrete as the duplicate. So let me just go to new, and I'm going to write the foundation as the complex profile name, foundation. So with that said, I'm going to click OK, and then it's going to open a new key for me. With that, the new place open, I'll have to delete this one that is already present and draw my own foundation complex profile. So to do that, I'm going to use my line tool and my fill tool, and we are going to have a reference for the foundation. So let's go and import a reference. So this is how a strip foundation looks like, and it's going to consist of the blinding and screeding, and then the concrete footing, and then maybe the masonry or the concrete block masonry wall that is now going to hold the slab, which is joined by a tie-beam. This is what I mean, excuse. So this is how it's going to look like, and this is how we are going to draw it in our complex profile page. So to do that, let's go back to ARCHICAD, and then let me just add that one. Let me just see if I can import it inside. Okay, I can't import it, so I just have to use it and trace it from here to there. So you can see the first thing we're going to do is we are going to have to draw the concrete footing, which consists of the blinding, or the first concrete layer that is usually put before we put the actual footing. And then we have the actual footing, which is reinforced concrete, and then the masonry block wall or the concrete wall, and then where the slab is going to meet. So remember, it's going to have some layers like the damp proofing membrane. These are the layers that is supposed to consist of. So first of all, let's just make the concrete footing, which is going to be 700 millimeters wide. So let me go to the plan there, and I can either use my line tool or the fill tool, but let's start with the line tool. but we can able to do it easily. So I'm just going to draw a square and then a rectangle, and then I'm going to write the footing to be maybe 700 and the depth to be 400. Yeah, with that done, now we have a footing, and the next thing we're going to be doing is you're going to be putting the concrete or the masonry wall. It is for the strip foundation. So that's supposed to be like, it's usually a meter. Actually, the highest it's usually a meter high. Yeah, so I'm going to draw it at the middle of where everything is, and I'm going to make sure it's a bit thicker, like 250 millimeters thick, and then the height is going to be 1,000 millimeters. So that done, now we have our foundation. I'm just going to make it central. I'm gonna suspend the groups now. I'm going to group them, and then I'm gonna make it central so that I can able to draw it like a real foundation. So I hope you guys are following, and this is the this is the outline or the profile of our foundation. So to make out separate this footing into the blinding area and the concrete footing, the reinforced concrete footing. So to separate it, I'm just going to draw a line here, which is a bit, let me make the one that is down to be a bit small, like 50, and enter. So I'm just going to draw and drag this down that I made downward. So this is the blinding area. So with that said, now we have our concrete or our foundation outline. So to make sure and put materials on it, we are just going to use the fill tool first, and then we're going to fill each and every portion of this with the fill tool. So I'm just going to highlight the fill here, and then I'm going to magic wand the fill there too, and then magic wand the fill down here too. Yeah, so with that selected, I'm going to select each fill, and I'm going to change the materials to what it's supposed to be. So for example, I can select this first fill, and then I'm going to go back to my menu here, and I'm going to choose what type of material it is by overriding the surface and the core, and then I'm going to look for what is supposed to be. So for example, this one is supposed to be, let's say, masonry block. Let me just look at masonry. Let's see, masonry. Wait. As I was saying, this is going to be the surface finish of the block here. But let's look at the material itself. So to make the material what we want, I have to go back to the fill here, up here, and then I'm going to change the fill type to be the one that we want. It's going to be the masonry. Let's call it the one that we made, tutorial masonry block. So that is what is going to consist of our first layer. So the next layer, I want to make it to be the reinforced concrete that we made. Yeah, for our foundation, and then the last one is going to just be concrete, not reinforced. Yeah, so it's just going to be concrete, and then I'm going to put it there. So that done, now we have our foundation profile, and this is how it's going to look like. So with that said, now we can actually look at how we can add some damp proofing onto our masonry block. So to do that, we're going to actually have to make a small layer on each side of our masonry block. So with that said, I'm just going to draw a small layer there, and it's going to be a bit small, like 10, and then I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to take the same layer and drag another copy to the other side, yeah, for damp proofing needs. So that's what we have, and then we can now actually fill it too and use and put the material as a damp proofing. So just fill it. Yeah, with that done, we just select the two materials, two fills that were made, then we go and look for make sure you select the fill, not the line. Yeah, then shift and select the next fill. Then we're going to look for what is supposed to be there. So damp proofing. Let me see if it's somewhere there. External fabricated. No, it's supposed to be. If it's not there, I don't know what you are. Waterproofing, damp proofing. Let's say waterproofing. Yeah, waterproofing membrane. Yeah, so this is what we want for that layer. Now you can see our block is making sense for our concrete. So let's just go back to the reference to see if we are going in the right direction. So yeah, so they've also made it known that these are 50 mm blinding. Yeah, the one that you have made there. And then there's a damp proofing membrane on this 50 mm blinding. So and then there's a well compacted earth. So let's just make the damp proofing for the blinding, which is this area here, so that the water does not seep inside too. So let me just go back to the field, and then I'm going to draw a small damp proofing membrane here. So it's supposed to be like 10 mm. It's usually that plastic that is usually put in construction. So that's the damp proofing membrane. So I'm going to put it down, and then I'm going to make it the way I want it, and then the thickness is going to be like, let's say 10. So I've put it down. Now I'm going to select it and make it waterproofing membrane. So let's go back and place it, select it, and then make it waterproofing membrane. Yeah, so that is what we have. And then we have our foundation here, and it's just complete. It's actually complete. So with that done, we now save our complex profile, and then we just close the tab. And then with that done, now we go back to our foundation level and draw the foundation. To do that, we just go to wall tool, and then we change it to complex profile. This is the last option. So with that said, we're just going to look for the foundation, and here it is, and click on it. So with that clicked on, now we can draw our foundation on the floor plan. So make sure you draw it on where the wall is actually on top of the masonry, the other masonry. So example, let me just draw the line here. Let me just draw it first here up to where the building ends, so that you can actually see it. I don't know why it's not being seen. Let me make sure it's okay. Yeah, so let me just repeat it. Let me do it again. So we're just going to have to draw it on this wall, and then let's make it visible. First of all, I'm just going to draw it there, and then I'm going to look for it where it is in the ground floor. Yeah, see, this is how it's going to appear on the 3D. Yeah, I'm going to just drag it so they can be on the right level, because I cannot actually alter this level. So I'm just going to select it, copy following, and then I'm just going to drag it upwards to there. So there's supposed to be somewhere there. Yeah, so let me just make sure it's okay. Yes, so it's supposed to be touching the slab. Yeah, so that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah, so with that said, we can go back to our foundation there, and we can see where it is now. Let me see if it's there. Yeah, I made it in the ceiling plan. That's the wrong thing, the wrong move I did. Make sure it's in the floor plan. So I'm just going to delete this one and then do it in the floor plan now. Yeah, so I'm going to actually have to take it again and draw it. Sorry for the small inconveniences. So I'm just going to have to draw it. Make sure it's outside face. Yeah, I'm just gonna draw it. Yeah, somewhere there. See, this is now in the floor plan. It just appears. So to make sure it's on top of, it's below the walls, I'm just going to drag this masonry wall and put it just below where the other wall is, and make sure it's aligned. So I'm just going to make sure it's aligned there. So now you can see here is how it looks like, and that's how our foundation is going to be for the first layer. So I'm just going to make sure it's on top and below. It goes up top to the below the slab. So I'm just going to drag it and then drop it there, exactly below the slab. Control Z, yeah, somewhere there. Yeah, so with that done, now you can see how our foundation is going to look like, something like that. Let me just go back. I don't know why it's behaving this way. I'm just going to make sure it's okay. So that's it. I can actually, oh, okay, I know. Let me see what's happening. In the ground floor is not visible, but in the foundation too it's not visible. Yeah, so to make sure it's visible, let me just go and see how my levels are. Control 7, and then I'm going to make sure my levels are not this deep. So I'm just going to make them like 1500. Let me see how it's going to be, and I'm going to see if I'm going to see it. I'm not yet seeing it. So yeah, I've made the level to be 1500, and now you can see it's a bit visible. I'm just going to have to drag it now and place it where I want it to be. Yes, so this is my foundation, the first one of my, the others are supposed to be drawn too. So with that said and done, I'm going to actually draw the rest the same way I've just drew the first one. So I'm just going to take my wall again, and then I'm going to make sure it's at 0 here so that it can be visible, and then I'm going to draw my foundation to where it's supposed to be, maybe somewhere here. Yes, and then I'm going to just drag it. Let me make sure it's dragged back to where it's supposed to be here. So make sure this one, the masonry block, is dragged to be just below the other masonry block above. Yes, so with that done, now we can actually draw the next one this side. Just go to the wall and then draw the next one, which is somewhere, starting somewhere here and ending somewhere there. Yeah, so then I'm going to drag it to make sure this masonry and this masonry align. Yes, so that's how it's supposed to look like, and then I'm going to do the rest for the other ones too. This one, hope you have had the idea of what I'm doing, and it's just a simple task. Is that just playing around, you cannot see it, the floor plan. So I'll fix that. So let's drag it back. Yeah, so here it is. Then we're gonna drag the next one too. Don't worry about how they're joining. I'm just going to use the wall, the joining tool for the wall. So I'm just going to drag another one here. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to select this one and drag it again to just be below the masonry block on top of it. So yeah, so make sure it's on top. Yes, let me just Control Z and make sure it's on top. Make a straight line there. Yeah, so then the next one is going to be this one that is below here, the last one, I think. So and then you're going to finish off. So this is what you're going to have. Then I'm just going to select it and drag it back here. Yes, so this is our foundation. This is how it's looking as of now. I'm just going to make sure there's another one here, because there's going to be a load bearing wall here and this one too. So I'm just going to make this it's going to be one that is going to run like this, and then another one like this. So I'm just going to drag it up to where it's supposed to be, somewhere there. Yeah, so I'm just going to make sure it drags somewhere like that. Yeah, so then I want to escape. Then this one, I'll have to draw another one here that's going to cut across this way. So to make sure my foundation is actually the weight is evenly distributed. So I'm just going to take it and drag another one across. I'm just going to select it and have to put the mason to block where it's supposed to be here. So with that done, now you can see our foundation is just complete. Yeah, for the it's complete for the where the load is going to be applied. Let me just make sure this other place too is considered, the foundation. Yeah, because it's also a part of it. So let me just join these ones, and you can see I can use shift and then I'm just going to make them right angle like that. Then I'm going to shift like this, then shift like that, and then make them right angle too. And just the same as doing for a wall. So shift like that and then shift like this, and then right angled joint, and then the same for this one. Just make sure it's okay. Yeah, so I think it's supposed to move a bit to the side, make it 90 degrees. Yeah, so make sure it's actually 90 degrees. This one is being stubborn. Let me just make sure it comes straight. I want it to be straight. Let me make sure it is. Before we continue, we have to make sure everything is straight, because we cannot have a foundation that is looking that way. We just have to select it and have to draw it well. So I should drag it just beneath the wall there. Just beneath the wall, exactly beneath it. And then I'm going to do the same for the upper floor, upper area. So yes, so with that done, straight again, nice straight. So we're going to just select it and shift, then this one, and then make it right angled. Yes, so then with that done, I'm just gonna have to reduce this a bit somewhere there. Yes, so you can see our foundation is taking shape. Then this one too, I want to just make it to be realistic and coming somewhere there. Yeah, you can see from our 3D, this is how it's going to look like. Yeah, our foundation is going to be somehow like this, and this is how the weight is going to be put to the floor. Yeah, so that's just how you can use your complex profile to make your foundation. So the next thing you are supposed to be doing, you're going to make the window sills using the complex profile. So hope you have learned how you make the foundation using a complex profile, and hope you can apply it. Yeah, so for the backfill, which is the things that are supposed to be the soil that is usually here on these spaces here, we're going to use the morph tool. So it's going to stay tuned. That's going to be, I'm going to teach you in the morph tool. So let's go and make the window sill for our windows. So to make the window sill, we just go back to our options, and then element attributes, and then profile manager here, this one. Yeah, so with that done, we add a new one, then we make sure it's made of concrete. Let's just look for concrete here, and then we make sure it's made of concrete, and then write new one, then we write it as window sill. Window sill. This is actually how you can actually make a window sill or a cornice for your building. Yes, so with that done, we delete the default one and we draw our profile that we want for our window sill. So for the window sill, you know, it usually depends on how the architect wants it, but it can be in a form of design. Let me just show you how it can be. So for our windowsill, we can have very many designs for it, and I want to just show you one that I can make here, a custom one. So for example, I'm just going to make this depth here to be, maybe let's say tab, let's make it 60, and then we enter, and then we just draw something like this, maybe like that, and then like this. Yeah, this is the profile I want to use to make my windowsill. I'm just going to make it a bit designly. So I'm gonna select everything, and then suspend the groups, then select one of the things here, and then add a new point. Make it something like this, and then something like this. Yeah. Then with this point here, I want it to be more circular inside, like this, maybe somehow like this, and then this one I want it to be more circular outside like this, then this one something like this. So you can see this is my window profile, and this is what you actually see in some of these window sills and the cornices of the buildings. So with that said, I'm just going to use my fill tool, and we'll see how it's going to appear in our floor plan. So I'm going to shift, and I'm going to magic wand my fill tool there. I'm going to select the fill, and I'm going to make sure it's actually concrete. Yeah, so concrete, and then I'm going to make sure the surface, I want the surface to be white, so I'm just going to overlay the surface, and then I'm going to make sure it's white. Let's say stucco white rough. So with that done, now we can actually save it. Yeah, and then we close the profile manager, then just go back to our plan, like the ground floor, and we draw our windowsill. So let me first close my trace. I'm just going to take the design, the wall tool. I'm going to use the windowsill. Yeah, so I'm going to make sure it's high enough for my window, like 650. Then I'm going to draw it. Let me just show you. For example, I'm going to draw this one here. Let me draw it the right way. So it appears outside. Yes, so this way. Then I'm going to drag it so that it can be actually realistic. So let me just go back here and drag it to where the windowsill usually ends, somewhere there. So yeah, with that done, let me just see how it comes out. Yes, this is what I mean when I say a windowsill. Let me just, yeah, actually it's in the other way around. Let me just rotate it, select it, and rotate it, Control E. That's on the right spot where it is, and then rotate it back and drag it outside. So drag it to where it's supposed to be there. So that done, you can see, yeah, this is what I mean by a windowsill. It's something like this. So this is how it appears when we use our complex profiles to design it. Yeah, this is actually how you can actually design a cornice for your building. Cornice is this ornamentation that is usually on buildings. So this is the windowsill for my window, and I can do it the same thing for the the other windows too. So I'm just going to Control Shift D and drag it to this window here, make it central. Then I'm going to Control E it to face the right direction. I'm gonna Control D it again. Then I'm going to make it fit the way the window for this area. So yeah, so yes, so that done. Now you can see in our 3D. You can see it actually. Let me just make sure it's visible. This one is going to be a meter. Let's say 900. And then let's drag it outside so it can be visible from our walls. These walls are cladded with stone, so they're a bit thicker, so it's going to be actually very hard to see the windows. So let me just make it back there. So With that done, you can see it's going to appear there, and I'm just going to make it high enough for on viewing. So I'm just going to drag it upwards to there. Yeah, that's our window sill. But remember, these walls are just this wall is too thick for a window sill, but it's just an example for how you can make a window sill using the complex profile. So with that done, you can actually do the same for the other ones too. So I'm going to story 1. I'm just going to actually have to trace. Let me see choose the reference to be there below current story, and then I'm on to so let me just make it off, and then I'm going to draw the window sill. So remember, I saved it in a wall tool. You can actually save it. It's an option of saving it the way you want. Maybe if you want it to be a beam, you can save it like that. So I'm just going to show you. Let me first draw it, and I'm going to show you how it's going to be. So first there, then take the window sill, drag it outside. So now we have our window sill for the upper floor. Take the same window sill, drag a copy on the other windows, and make them fit. So drag it somewhere in the middle there, and then control it to be the way it's supposed to be, and then make it fit your window. Yes, so that's how you do it. Yes, so with that said, let me just another copy here, and then control it to fit this window here, drag it there, and then this one here, and this one up to there. So same thing for these other 2 windows, but let's first look at how it's coming to make sure it's making sense. Yeah, so you can see the window sill is made. Yes, so it's actually a bit too small. It's not actually too visible, so but you can just edit it if you want to. So let me first escape and drag this one to the top where it's supposed to be. Yeah, so Control Z, and actually drag it upwards with this only this plane. So yeah, so that's how things are for our window. Just a bit small, it's a bit inconspicuous. That word is usually so hard for me. So inconspicuous. So that's how the window sill looks. But if you want to edit the window sill, how it's looking, you can just go back to your options here, the complex profile manager, and then press edit, and then choose the one that you want to edit. Like if you want to edit the window sill, let's choose it. Yeah, and then you can now edit it. Maybe if you want to make it a bit bigger, and drag it outwards. Maybe you want to make it a bit bigger somehow like this. You want to make it a bit bigger for your windows. You can just drag it out. Yeah, that's done. Let me just take this point. Control Z, make this point. Yeah, maybe if you want to make it a bit bigger, you can do that, and then you can just save, and it's going to update itself. You can just go to the 3D and see. Now it's a bit bigger now than the previous thing. Yeah, so that's how you just edit it after you've made your window sill. So the next thing I'm going to do is with the same tool and the same method, I'm going to make my cornice for this building, because I think it had a cornice. See, there's a cornice between here. Yeah, you see this thing? This cornice here. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, this one. This cornice. So I'm just going to make sure it is on the floor plan. So let me go to the story 1 and draw my cornice on the building. So I'm just going to take the same tool. I'm just going to draw it outside the way it's supposed to be. Let me first see if it's coming outside or it's going inside. Let me see. Yeah, it's actually inside out. Let me just Control Z and draw it the right way. So go to the wall tool, and then I'm going to draw it the right way. Now the right way is this way. So I'm going to drag it to be where it's supposed to be, somewhere there. Yes, so you can actually do the same this other side. Drag another copy here up to somewhere there, then drag it outside there. Yes, so then the next one you're going to do it the same way this other side. Yes, so make sure it's not inside out, it's actually the right way in. Yeah, this is the right way. Yeah, so just going to have to drag it outside a bit. Just going to use the same profile for my windowsill for the corners. So now I have to draw it. So remember, you can use this in many different situations. Maybe if you want to make an interior cornice or something like an exterior cornice, something like that. So that's how you just do it using the complex profile. So I'm just make the last one here and then merge them. I'm going to escape first there, and then we do the next one here. Yeah, to where it is supposed to end, somewhere there before it is obstructed. Yeah, so take it and then draw it outside. So drag it to somewhere there. So make sure it's dragged well. Drag it and then drag it somewhere. Yeah, I think. Let me make sure. Yeah, so with that said, I'm just going to select it and this one and this one. Then I'm going to make them 90 degrees. Then this one and this one. And this one, and then make them 90 degrees. Then this one and this one. I'm going to make it 90 degrees too. So let's just see how things are coming up. And that's how it's going to look like. But I want it to be down, so let me just group all of them and make them this level. They're supposed to be this low. So I'm just going to one, select all of them, shift of them, and then make them to be 0 in the level from the story. So here is what I'm talking about. Let's just make it 0 so that it can be at the border between the two stories. So that's what I'm talking about. So now we have our corners for our building, something like this, but you can just actually make it bigger by going to edit and editing it manually. So this is how it's supposed to be. Yeah, with that you have done the window sill, you have made the foundation, you've made the corners of the building. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to see how we can influence the cladding of our facade using the complex profile. So let's go and look into it. Yeah, so for my facade treatment, I'm going to actually have to make this facade a bit interesting using this complex profile tool. So to do this, we're just going to have to open the elevations for this facade and maybe make it a bit interesting by using some lines and some different things. So let's just go and open it so we can start our facade treatment. So this one I think is going to be, this is the north elevation. Yeah, so wait for it to load. Yeah, so here it is. And what we can actually do here, so I'm just going to, I've been drafting out like an interesting facade treatment that we're going to use. So I just want to make it out first and draft it before we actually have to do it now. So That done, now you can see we can have something like this, and this is just an example, and don't worry if it's not coming the way you want. So let me just select it and play around with this one to make a actually good facade treatment. So that done, I can select everything here, shift, and then select this one too, and then I can actually control shift M, mirror it onto the top here too. See what happens. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, I see something is becoming more interesting, so I can select it again, select it somehow like this, and then I'm going to control shift D, control shift D, this one, so control shift D and put it down here, somewhere here, and then I'm going to mirror it, control shift M, it's control shift M, mirror it there. So with that said, now we have our facade treatment that looks somehow like this. Yeah, so remember, you just have to be creative with your use of this tool as ARCHICAD, and this is just an example. So whatever idea you have, you can just actually execute it if you know there's an option of using the complex profile for facade treatment. So I don't think I know you've gotten me. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to have to select both of these lines. But I'm going to actually group them first. I'm going to select both of them, shift. Yes, so with that selected, I can now control copy them, then go to the options and property manager, profile manager, which is in element attributes, profile manager, and then I'm going to add another one, and this one is going to be concrete too, so I'm going to make it concrete. Yes, so I'm going to write a new one, then I'm write it facade ornamentation, ornamentation, something like that. Yeah, so click OK, then I'm going to paste what I copied here, control V, so paste there. Now we can have our line ready for manipulation here. So to make sure everything is okay, I'm just going to finish it up and close it up like it's supposed to be, and fix some constraints here. So with that done, now we can now use our fill tool to fill up each and every one of them. So I'm going to fill this one and fill them up. Yes, so I'm now going to select every fill here and make them the material we want. So I'm going to select the whole fill. I'm going to change the material to maybe concrete there. So, and then I'm going to make the surface to be paint that is different from what we have in our wall there. So let me just make something contrasting, maybe black, or maybe gray can be more contrasting than the white there. So with that done, I can just save. Yes, and then I close my profile. So with that done, now I can now put my profile back. I just go to the ground floor, and then I'm going to select my wall there, here, design wall, and then I'm going to select the profile that I want, facade ornamentation, and then I'm going to just drag it there. Sorry for that, Control Z. Just going to have to drag it, see where it is. Yeah, so somehow like this. Let me see how it's going to be. No, actually I've dragged it outwards. I'm supposed to drag it this way, so I'm just going to take here from the wall here, then I'm going to drag it this way. I don't know if it's visible here somehow. Yeah, it is. It's drawing itself on the farther end, so I'm just going to drag it this way. Let's make sure it's a bit thinner. Let me tab it and then make it like 150. So click, and then I'm going to drag it back to my wall now. When you're drawing a complex profile, it usually draws itself further away from where you want it to draw. So what you're going to actually do is just drag it to where you want it to be. So let's see how things have come and see if they are actually okay. Yeah, so you see it has gone the other direction. So let me just rotate it and make it the right direction that I want. Control E, and then just make it this direction, and just drag it back there. So yeah, it's where I want it. Let's go to the elevation and make sure it's where we want it. So with that said, I'm just going to select it. I'm going to drag it to one point down here, so to where the outline is. So you can see I've made an ornamentation with the complex profile. You can select it and make sure the surface is what I want. You can see everything is, yes, this is what I want. Let me just make it maybe this black and see. Yeah, so you can see this is a type of ornamentation we can actually have on our complex profile, and this is just what you can actually do with it to make this ornamentation. So for example, I can show you more examples of how I use the same tool to accomplish some other facades. Let me just show you another example I did. Yeah, this was my project for when I was in third year. So let me show you where it is. I think it's supposed to be somewhere in this desktop here. Yes, so let me look at it. Downloads here. Everything's new folder. I think it's somewhere here. So yeah, so I used the same tool to accomplish this profile on one of my buildings. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So this is a more advanced option. I just drew these hexagons. I just opened the elevation of my whole building and then drew the hexagons and everything using my complex profile. Then I drew them. So this is actually an example, a more advanced example how you can use your complex profile. So with that said, now you can actually, you have an idea. You can actually finish ornamenting your wall with your own creativity. So with that done, you can see this is how things look like on my wall there. It has a thickness. Actually, I don't think it's just something being drawn there. It's a thickness, and it can actually visible. So that's how you can use it to make a facade treatment. Yeah, with that said, I think we have done most of the things that our complex profile is used for, and I know you can use it now yourself. So yeah, thanks for your time. Yeah, so the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the curtain hole tool in more depth, and next after the curtain hole we're going to look at the morph, and then we're going to finish off with the shell tool and finish off our first course. So thanks.